we live.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's going on, guys?
All right, we're
right.
finally here. Thank God, we're finally here.
All right. So this been going on for about a month. Guys trying to get their equipment right. We trying to get, not me, Jonathan getting soundboards and shit. These guys, they've been trying to get their equipment right. I told them get them a Android phone or a Samsung or, all that Mac and stuff don't work. But we here. We got the K9 Lab doggone podcast. So we here. So we're gonna kind of jump right into intros. I guess we'll let the oldest guy go first, which is Eli. Even though Jonathan look older than both of us put together,
Yeah.
but we're gonna let Eli go first because he's
That's all
older.
that caffeine, bro.
That's it.
Well, I guess this is funny because we got to do this all over the last time. I got into dogs when I was about 18 years old. My own dog, and I joined a local club. Got into obedience work. Started, dabbling in bite work. Did that for a little bit, and I went to an expo, and at that expo, there was a weight pool there, and I just was like, "Wow, what's that?" And I'm like, I think I'll be good at that, and wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong in the beginning of it. Like everybody else is, when you first go into it, and got bit by the bug and started, just started diving into it. And that was back in 1999. And here we are now 20 some odd years later. And, the bug is what it is, man. It gets a hold of you and you just keep going. So, and I've trained all different types of dogs in between there, everything from little Pee Wee Herman, the little Chihuahua that some people know about, some people don't. He's out there all the way to, obviously, the preferred dog in this sport is the American Pit Bull Terrier. And now we're involved in Boerboels, me and the wife, and training these guys. And hopefully this podcast can help bring in some of those guys into the sport and bring some of the big dogs back around again.
All right, and all right, we got we'll go ahead and let Jonathan go. The oldest looking on the group, but probably the youngest. But we're gonna let him go.
So my name is Jonathan Trejo. For those guys that don't know me, I haven't been.
What's your kennel name?
Working Bulls. Check it out, Jonathan.
Okay.
At Working Bulls. But yeah, I'm down here in South Florida. I haven't been putting as much as these two guys. I probably have about 6 to 7 years. Kind of pulling. I didn't start competing competitively until like 2021.
So hold on, I'm sorry for interrupting you. So you said you didn't stop compete. You didn't stop getting your ass whooped until 2021.
I love the tricks. A couple of tricks along the way. I didn't really get into like the ADBA stuff till like 2021, and I've been pulling very short. I started with the bully stuff. And now with the weight pool pit bull stuff.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
So I see you got a bunch of trophies behind you, man. Look like you've been doing pretty good for yourself.
Yeah, these are just some of the things I've acquired along the way. This one I think was supposed to be yours around here somewhere.
Hey, look, we're gonna put this on the table. Jonathan Trejo has beat my ass. He has beat my ass, and I'm gonna be the first to say it. Just like you're gonna hear me say this several times in the group. You gotta know how to take an ass whooping and give one at the same time. I have had them and I have gave them. Okay. Yeah. All right. So last but not least, we got Emmanuel at Funny Man Kennel. Here we go right here, Funny Man. I'm Emmanuel Funny Man on Facebook and Funny Man Kennels on Instagram. Let me see. I kind of was born into dogs when I was coming up. Did I get that out, guys?
A little bit out right there. Yeah, a little bit right there.
Okay, yeah. So I came from a pretty royal family when it comes to these pit bulls, man. And So I was kind of born into them. And then my first dog that I owned that was my own dog was a Jack Russell Terrier. That's actually what I started with IWPA. And I had a couple American Bulldogs that we also purchased back in 1999. I pulled a American Bulldog, a Jack Russell Terrier. And then, I kind of got into the pit bulls. Had a pit bull from Mark Landers. Had American Bulldogs from a couple other breeders locally, and did pretty good with them. Won a couple championships, couple most weight pulls, percentages here and there. Now I'm to the current day. We're in 2025. I'm pulling a dog named Machine Gun Kelly, and she's on a pretty good roll. So hopefully, in about 2 or 3 months, we go to nationals, and she does what I've been training her to do. What I see she should be able to do. And that's pretty much what I have.
And for the people, there's some people obviously that are gonna see this and know who we are, but for the people that don't know who we are, there he is, Funny Man Kennels. We're not just some people that just came together and decided to start talking about something that we don't know anything about. Emmanuel has multiple national champions. He's trained different breeds as well, not just the American Pit Bull Terrier, which is a good thing. And he's also bred dogs that are becoming champions. Jonathan, for the amount of
Actually, something that you say that, E. Actually, back in and it was either 5 or 6 IWPA nationals was in Connecticut. I had a first English Bulldog to win the nationals, which is I had that particular dog tattooed on my arm.
yeah.
So that's the first English Bulldog. He won a gold medal IWPA, and so that's 2005 or 6 if you wanted to go check the records. Emmanuel Faccio.
I remember that.
Yep.
Jonathan has been doing, for the amount of time he's in there, he's doing fucking amazing. He's got obviously several national championships back behind him. He's got,
And I let him win because I wanted him to stay around. So I said, shit, I'm gonna let him win so he can stay around. Because if I would have whooped his ass like I wanted to, he would have already left. So I let him win because that's the kind of guy I am.
Yeah. Sometimes you can donate to charity. I understand. So the good part of and he understands genetics and the importance of the role that plays when creating a bloodline and in going in this sport. And he's going that way. He's doing some phenomenal breedings, and myself included. I kind of when I got into this, I kind of stayed away from the popular bloodlines that were winning because, as usual, I'm a knucklehead and I like to do everything the hard way. And I had to do it the hard way with dogs that were not bred for the sport. And I enjoyed the challenge, and I did well with that. We took dogs that had absolutely nothing to do with the sport of weight pull, turned them into national champions, and started creating a bloodline like that based off of those dogs. But that was many years ago, and I decided to walk away from that once we got into farming and stuff like that, and decided we needed something a little bit different for our lifestyle. I always loved the American Pit Bull Terrier. I probably always have one, but it just didn't fit our lifestyle anymore. We got into the Boerboels, me and my wife, and after having these guys for quite some time, a little bit now, we're looking at them going, man, there's some workability here. Just got to tap into that. Mm-hmm. And then we decided, well, let's give it a shot. And right now we have the first Boerboel to ever receive an ace title by ADBA, which is fantastic. And hopefully we're going to have a couple more aces, Boerboels to add to the group. And hopefully that inspires other people with other breeds, to get into the sport, and just other breeds in general. It doesn't even have to be a large breed, but hopefully, they see stuff like this and go, oh man, all because I may not have a dog or a particular bloodline doesn't mean that you can't compete and be competitive, so that's that.
So one thing that I'm sure the people want to know, and if the people don't want to know, I want to know, when did you trade in the slacks, the tie, and the dress shoes for a cowboy hat? Because when I first met you, this motherfucker had curly, like a little jerry curl haircut with a slacks and a tie on and goddamn slippery earls on. So I'm trying to figure out when you trade that in for the cowboy hat.
When you start walking around in sheep shit all fucking day, I think you start to trade it. But who knows? Maybe I'll show up to one of these events all dressed up. You never know.
Well, what I was just trying to make sure it wasn't Brokeback Mountain.
Jesus. See what I'm saying? And this is our normal conversation. So just you guys. I got 5 children, so that's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
All right. We're gonna get back on topic, everybody. I know y'all don't want to hear us cracking jokes on each
This
other.
is every day.
All right,
This is
so
every day. This is normal.
Every day.
yeah,
Every
this
day.
is this is a daily thing. He's right.
This is us all day.
And this is what you can expect from this: easy, laid back,
Yeah.
Cracking
fun.
jokes.
You
Cracking
know,
jokes.
just cracking jokes and trying to get some real knowledge and information out to people that want to hear it. But we're gonna get back on topic. So the first topic I want to talk about is selecting a puppy, picking a puppy, selecting whether you're gonna get it from a shelter, which we can. A lot of people rescue dogs, and there's no problem with that. Or do you get them from a breeder, and which breed? So go ahead, Jonathan. I'll let you start there.
Okay.
And give your give your 2 cents,
I got.
because that's all he
Okay.
got is 2 cents. Me and E got 5. This motherfucker just got 2. So we're gonna let him give his 2 cents on it, and me and E give our 5.
I got you. I got you. So for me, I like to know, like, I like to know where my dogs kind of came from.
Yeah.
Nothing to anybody adopting a dog. Just for me, like, I like to know some of the quirks, some what to look for, what what to expect from a certain line of dogs, right, or breed. Right, so I like to not be caught off guard or surprised when something pops up, right? Because it can be a hassle. Some of these bloodlines have certain things, whether it's cord, genetic issues, just different things. Yeah, I like to pick my dogs up from somebody that I know, or just something that I can expect, right? But the way I like to pick them is like, I like to watch them. I like, like I've told you guys in the past, I like to wash a dog, look for a dog that self-soothe, a dog that doesn't require or need a pack, in a sense where they're not always wanting to be together. Just
Well, it sounds like you should. It sounds like you should go get a cat, motherfucker.
some some that could travel well, because, like, the last thing I want is a puppy that's always looking for attention, that's crying when I put him in the back and we're doing these, like, these 15-hour drives. And of course, obviously, you start small, but eventually you build up. And the last thing I need is a dog that is going crazy in a crate or crazy at a show. uh, just overall, a dog that feels confident enough to being alone, right, for a good amount of time. And just, and that's pretty much all I look for. A nice little self-soothing dog, a dog that's basically just looking around, just curious, but at the same time not dependent on the other ones. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give my 5, and then we go to E. So I never got a dog from a shelter and trained it, but I'm sure I could. I wouldn't have a problem, and I don't have a problem with anybody that wants to help and get a dog from a shelter. That is a great thing to do. There's nothing wrong with it. We have our shelters are running over with dogs, puppies, so it's not a bad idea. Normally, I try to go to a reputable breeder, someone that's been doing this for a while. I'm gonna say back in 4 or 5, I used to talk to old Mark Landers from Mountain Gator Kennels. We used to talk on a daily basis. I mean, for hours. And one day I asked him. I said, "Hey, Mark, what's your secret to success? With these weight pulling dogs?" And he said, "You really want to know my secret?" I said, "Shit, I asked." So he says, "If you're making no, it ain't Baby Lou. That was before P Diddy. This is 2006, motherfucker. So that
These
was
are the lube right there. That's the secret of.
that's that was KY Jelly days. But no, no. What he told me, he said,
I'm sorry.
if you want to make chicken soup, you start with chicken, not chicken shit. And when he said it, I understood it. So you want to start with a good quality of dog from a good reputable breeder, someone that's doing what you like. Now, if you like top dogging, you want to go to the best top dog people. I'm not gonna go to the best weight pullers for top dog dogs. If I want to do confirmation, I'm going to the person that wins every confirmation show that they go to. If I want a confirmationly correct pit bull for a show. If I want a good weight pulling dog, I'm going to the best weight pullers, right? So that's where I start. My breed of choice is the American Pit Bull Terrier. Like I said, I trained the English Bulldog, and the English Bulldog was a great dog. They were strong, they were agile, just a really good dog. But they're not the American Pit Bull Terrier, So that's that's pretty much my my 5 cents because Jonathan gave us two. That's five, so we had seven. Go ahead, E, give your five.
Well, yeah, I look for, I don't mind a dog that wants to follow me and wants a little too much attention. I kind of like that, but I want a calm dog. I don't want an overly, like sometimes you see these super drivey game bred American Pit Bull Terriers that are, they have a purpose, but a lot of the times they're too wiry when it comes to weight pull. So, like, if I'm looking for an American Pit Bull Terrier in the sport, I'm going to look for something a little bit more calm. With my breed right now, with the Boerboel, this is all uncharted waters right now. So, this is I'm looking for trainability. I'm looking for a dog that wants to be there with me, that's looking to follow me, looking to be there, and it's just a dog that just wants attention. You know, it just seems to make it easier that way to train them. I can't look at this breed and say, well, I'm going to go and find a line that has, that come off of, weight pulls. There isn't any. This breed, the reality is there really isn't much, working titled dogs like that, so we got to start from scratch, which, it just is what it is. Really, the importance for me when picking out a dog is just looking for a dog that's looking for attention, that wants to be there. It's looking for directive, wants to follow. Not that you can't train a dog that's a little bit more reserved, or a dog that kind of has his own thing or is a little bit more dominant. You can, and they serve a purpose. They're just harder to train. And I think anybody will tell you that those guys are harder to train. And at this point, as old as I'm starting to get now, I want easy dogs. I want dogs that are easy to train. And
And I'm glad you said that, E. Drivey dogs, they're not for. I mean, you can train them. I had them. Onyx. I pulled a dog that her name was Onyx last year. Dude, probably one of the driviest dogs I ever trained. I mean, just balls to the wall all the time. I had to be very patient with her. I had to take my time, and I had to be
yes,
methodical because she was always wanting to go 1,000 miles an hour. So I had to slow down. So she understand that it was okay to slow down, but that's not a dog for a
no,
beginner. Yeah. Now, if that's what you have, you got to work with what you have. You find somebody that's dealt with that before, and that's where you go with that. What kind of gets into my, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but that's where you go to a good mentor.
100%.
And I jumped ahead a little bit because that was actually one of the things I was going to talk about after we talked about healthy puppies. But we're going to talk about mentors now. So I guess go ahead, E. Start off with a good mentor, man.
Man, a good mentor is somebody that that aligns with your training views, right? Like that's a good mentor is somebody that can show you results. Not someone that's just talking. Like you go to them, you see their dogs, you see how they're performing, you sit there, you talk to them. They don't sound like a ding dong. You know what I'm saying? They actually sound educated in what they're talking about, what they're doing, and they're willing to refer you to somebody else if they don't have the answer. That's another thing. You find someone who, if they don't have the answers for you, hey, you should call this person, talk to this person about what you're experiencing, what you're doing, because I've never experienced it or something like that. Those are good people to talk to.
Right.
And you have to find someone with real experience, because there's plenty of people out there that come out and they work a dog for a year or two, and now they go online and they're fucking world experts now. Stay away from people. Yeah, I want somebody who's done it,
Okay.
or
Well, who's
because you
done
can
it?
find
Okay.
some people that just
Okay.
don't do it anymore. Look, this sport is hard, you know,
Yeah.
on us as well,
Yeah.
because we put in just as many miles walking with these dogs when you're dragging, and the bigger the dogs, the more weight you got to put back there, the more stuff you got to move around. So it starts to to wear on people. So even if the person isn't involved in it as much anymore, or even involved at all, if you can look at them and you can see the results that they've had, that's someone then to talk to, and just be a sponge, absorb as much information as you can, and stick with that one person for a while. Make sure, because if you go, that's
Yeah.
a big thing that we see with a lot of new people, is they'll talk to this person, then they'll talk to that person,
Yeah.
then they'll talk to this person and that person, and they'll pick
Yes.
up the phone and start calling everybody else. What should I do here? What should I do here? And they don't
Yep.
fucking just stay with one person for
Yeah.
a little bit and just do what that person is
Yeah.
telling you for, because change or whatever mistakes you made, you don't fix that overnight. So if one person is telling you,
Yeah.
just stay with that one person till you figure it out. And then if you can't, then you
Yeah.
go and find somebody else. But you got to give that person an opportunity for their techniques to kick in, and everybody wants results overnight, and it just doesn't happen.
No, 100%. And it's funny you say that. Everybody has their own training
Yeah,
program, especially some of the top guys out here. They got a way that they do
yeah.
things. If you come to me and you say, "E, what do you do? Tell me what you do from beginning to end," and you start my process, right? And then you go to Brian Hausfeld, and say, "Hey, Brian, what do you do?" Guess what? You're gonna. I can't. If I tell you go A B C D E, and you go A B, and then Brian give you 1 2 3, and then you come. I can't help you at that point in time because you went off the
You went off
tracks. You went
script.
off the
You went,
my beaten
you
path.
went off. You went off. You done messed it up now. You done messed it up.
Yeah,
And now there's there.
yeah,
We see this all the time. And I know we probably ranting on this, but because it's a big pet peeve for a lot of us. E, you're gone. I don't know what you just did, but you're gone.
yeah. I did that. I did. I'm still here, but I can hear you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So what happens is, people do that and then they're complaining or because they don't see the results that they're looking for. Well, you can't go with one trainer and then they're giving you the program and then you're cutting it in half and you're inserting somebody else's stuff in there. And it's probably not going to work. A lot of times it doesn't. We see it all the time. We get the phone calls and the messages, and you're like, well, this is why, because you're jumping around from trainer to trainer, from advice to advice. You got to find somebody, stick with them for a while, and then, go to somebody else if need be, and start with their program from scratch if that's the case. But you can't go mid keep, and go to somebody else. It's not going to work. It never does. It never does. We hear it all the
Yep.
time. It never works.
All right. Well, go ahead. What you think, Jonathan? What you a good mentor? Or, I know that we kind of covered a lot of stuff with mentors.
Yeah.
How about this? Give us some of your mentors, because you're newer
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah.
Give us some of your mentors in the game. I
Gotcha.
told you one of mine earlier was Mark Landers. We talked heavily every day. He gave me a lot of what to do and what not to do. Dwayne Phipps, he was one of my mentors back in the day. Again, I learned a lot of what to do and what not to do from him. And it's just like anything. I take what's for me and I let the rest go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've been dealing with dogs my whole life. I've trained Schützen dogs. I've trained all kind of things, man. Rabbit dogs, coon dogs. I did all facets of dogs, man. I'm just into. So those are some of my mentors. Give us some of yours. Since you're newer, who are some of your mentors that you used that gave you valuable advice that got you to where you are today?
So for me, living down south, so far you only got it's very limited, especially when you're trying to start and you're still not, you don't know about the traveling. That's what was one of the biggest things for me. So I essentially got in contact with which was a UKC judge named Dina down here in Lakeland. She opened up her doors for me to use her facility and stuff like that. She helped me with basically the basics of how to train a dog, stops and goes, just the simple stuff, again, just like you said, you learn some things and then some things work, some things don't. I officially got with who I literally, even my whole program, even my dogs, my bigger dogs, what I what they're based off is, my good friend Chase Bowers, he gave me basically how to train a dog, what I was doing wrong, to even video, exchanging videos, telling me, no, no, don't do that, do it like this, even to that point where it's like, and that takes commitment, that takes, that takes somebody willingness to do something is something that's very rare because as we all know, time is essential for us because we're always training dogs and sometimes we feel like, hey, when we take on somebody new or even just answer questions, it's like, is this person really going to take my advice or are they just, just asking questions that they're really not, don't really care too much or they're just
Yeah.
comparing
Yeah.
anybody else said.
Comparing
Yes.
notes. Yeah,
So,
man. That happens a lot.
so
It happens a
That
lot.
yeah,
happens.
so it's one of those. Yeah, so he gave me his program, basically, and it's been working phenomenal. I have Emmanuel who has helped me tweak it. and it's turned, it's turned bad for him.
I
You
gave
know,
him I gave him too much information. I gave this joker too much information. And look, and you know the crazy part, I got a saying. If a guy wear glasses, don't tell him shit. When he came to me, he didn't have no glasses on. I told him all my shit. I told him everything about how I train, and he put his glasses on and whooped my ass.
Yeah.
So listen what I'm gonna tell you guys. If they wear glasses, don't tell them nothing.
Hey, and then rule of thumb, take the motherfucking glasses off when you ask questions, okay? Take your and you
And
know,
listen, man, listen.
and
When you find some of these people,
yeah,
man, you gotta listen. You gotta absorb it. You know,
yeah, yeah, and
Jonathan,
always
Yeah,
be grateful for their
yeah,
time. You know what I'm saying? Be grateful. Like I said, I hold Chase dearly. He's grown to be a good friend. I cherish Emmanuel, and now I cherish Eli. Eli's been helping me out with some other stuff. I can't let you guys know the full juice, but hey, I'm just gonna let you know you're gonna see a better me in 2026. Yeah, so y'all better be ready.
I had to learn the hard way, man. I would be the person to say I messed up a lot of dogs in the beginning, just like everybody else.
shit,
I struggled in the beginning,
yeah,
and this is why a lot of times, when sometimes I'm so rough with people, and they hear me talk a lot of the times, because I made a lot of the fucking mistakes that I see going on now. In the beginning,
yeah,
I really didn't have a mentor in the beginning. I kind of just jumped into it. After some time went around, I was fortunate to be around and observe some of the people that aren't involved in the sport anymore, that are probably considered, pioneers in the sport at this point. I got a chance to see some really good dogs, and little by little, I started meeting certain people, and then I started picking some stuff up along the way. It was hard for me to get anybody to really give me any information in the beginning, but I took little bits and pieces of stuff from like Jimmy Hollander back in the day. I was fortunate enough to be at shows a lot of the time with Richard Dunn, the godfather of big dogs, there for a while over here in the East Coast. You know what I mean? I got a chance to sit there and witness some of the great dogs run down the track. You get a chance to see the infamous Chevy Red Dog come down the track, and I got a chance to see that dog in person, see those dogs move, and you start analyzing and you start watching how the trainers interact with their dogs and stuff like that. I was fortunate enough to be able to have good long conversations with Satudo from Magnum Force, and I
hmm,
would listen to that guy and just absorb anything that he had to say, and a couple of other people that I'm probably forgetting along the way. That's what started
yeah,
to help. But I messed up a lot of dogs, and that's
yeah,
the good thing about finding a trainer. And when they tell you, hey, don't do that because I've done it and it doesn't fucking work, is because it doesn't work. And a lot of the times you'll see people, you'll tell them, hey, it doesn't work, and they still do it, even though it's not because we want to see you win. We want to see you be successful. It's the only way to keep the sport going. If you have
yeah.
up and coming people be successful, they're just going to walk away. But sometimes people just don't listen, man. They
you
don't
know,
listen.
Now I'm gonna tell you something. He brought up a lot of names: Jimmy Hollander, Anthony Zatuto. So these same people that he was talking about, we both bump elbows with them together and around the same time. I'm gonna tell you one person I gotta give his flowers, man, to that really. I went to an ADBA show, and back in the day, ADBA shows back then was a little weirder than they are, now. Now you get nice people. People will talk to you, but back then nobody would talk to
Nobody
you.
but talk.
Uh,
Nobody.
I want to
Nobody.
say I seen Richard Dunn was sitting on the bleachers in Jersey. I'm about 15 to 16 years old. I walk up to him and I said, "Man, I see you pulling. Hey, how you doing? My name's Emmanuel Faxio. Da 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 da. Whole spiel." And then I tell him, I say, "Man, I see your dog's doing good. What's the secret?" And I'll be doggone another mentor. He gave me some
Nice.
jewels, and guess what? I stuck them jewels in my pocket, and I still use those jewels to this day. I bet y'all will let them know what them jewels is, but that's my secret. Find Richard Dunn and ask.
Listen, every time I pull the big dogs now, you know, it's a nod to Richard. When I sit there and I go,
Yeah,
come on, like that was when you
yeah,
heard
yeah,
that, come on, across
yeah,
the room.
yeah.
Richard was on the
Uh-huh.
track, and he had some monstrously huge dog, and the way
Dogs,
the
yeah,
second you heard Richard go, come
yeah.
on, and that everybody
Yeah.
stop what they were doing,
Oh,
and that's my nod to
yeah.
Richard Dunn. Now, when I pull the big dogs,
Yeah.
it's you hear me go, "Come
So
on!"
so
It's my nod and my way
yeah.
of giving Richard his flowers for sure.
He would say that, come on, and then he would say,
Finish,
finish, finish,
finish,
master, finish,
infamous,
infamous,
infamous.
finish, finish, big show, finish, little show, finish. And I'll be goddamn when he
When he
said
said
it,
it
the
that
motherfucker
way,
went into another gear and they got down
yeah,
that track.
I get that.
Oh yeah,
That's my
oh
nod to
yeah,
Richard. Every time I do that, that's my
yeah.
way of nodding to the experience that he brought to the sport. For sure, 100%.
All right, so we kind of skipped and we went out of order, but we're gonna get ourselves back on
Sure.
track. All right, so we talked about puppy selection and this, that, and other. One of the most important things before you start to imprint on a puppy, and the reason I say imprint because I started 8 weeks old. I don't really put a whole lot of weight on the dogs. It's more just noise, really noise, and we're going through the motion. But you got to start with a healthy puppy, a worm-free puppy, a vaccinated puppy. Before my dogs go out, leave my house, these dogs, or before I would pick them up from somebody else's house or kennel, these dogs need at least a round of vaccines. Before I take them out of my house, I normally get another round of vaccine.
Yeah.
And I make sure these dogs are worm-free, they're vet checked, they moving good. If the vet give me the okay, hey, this dog looking good, then we start pulling. So the next thing is a healthy puppy. One that isn't wormy. If your puppy's bloated in the stomach and something's going on, and maybe let's say you take him and get a fecal exam and they don't show worms, it could be coccidia. It could be because a lot of people that has dogs have
Oh
chickens
yeah.
or bird, or it could be worms and the test
They
could miss
just
it.
they just didn't see it in that float, and that
Yeah,
and that and that
yeah,
happens all the time. That happens
yeah,
all the time. But just because they didn't see it in that slide
yeah,
doesn't mean that the dog, I would just worm them anyway.
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, no, 100%. So definitely you want to have a healthy puppy, one that's free from any disease. And if you're doing this outside, we got 4 seasons, and about 2.5 of those seasons, there's fleas, ticks, mosquitoes. Again,
All year
heartworm,
round.
preventatives. You need to have canine advantics. You need to have, dude. It's so much that you gotta have on your puppies before you get out
And
there.
that's a good another episode that we can get into all that
Mhm.
stuff, because I'm sure all three of us probably do something a little bit
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
kind of a little bit the same. Like I
Yeah.
I, I do delayed vaccines with them. But I what
He's more holistic. He's the guy. Hey, look, he's the guy that don't vaccinate his kids, and he's that
that's a
guy.
whole nother podcast. That's a whole nother
My trial. I'm still waiting for my sample so I can see how that, it works down here in that Florida Everglades.
Oh yeah.
And one thing I'd like
So
to
healthy puppies.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Emmanuel,
go
but
ahead.
one thing I'd like to add is like you're gonna hear us talk about when when we train, we've messed up dogs or stuff like that. It doesn't mean physically. It just means mentally or just not fully prepared for what it is to come or to that level. Not because we literally messed up a dog because we can't walk or nothing like that. I just want to clarify that.
Look,
That's something I'd like to touch because especially for the people who don't understand, put your hand down and just for just for the general public to understand, it's not because we're over here, doing something, dogs,
now listen. I wanna. Hey, look. Disclaimer. These two have messed up dogs. I ain't never messed up a dog in my life. Every one of my dogs are perfect. They all came down the track, and we win. No, man, back in the day, and look, back in the day, and I shouldn't even tell y'all where to find this at, but 1999, 2000, 2001, go look at IWPA. They still got the results up there, dude. My dog came in dead last. Dude, I was lucky if I took third place. But what y'all can't see from looking at the results is every show that I left, I used to I was hoarse, begging the dog. Dude, it was like running a marathon by the end of the week, and that's how I felt because my dogs would just stand there and I'd be, hey, come on, buddy, hey, we're good, hey, come on, So I definitely have dogs that and I'm glad I had them because I learned a lot from them. But yeah, I messed something up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. So all right, so we got mentoring. All right, so the next step after a healthy puppy, now um you got to start with something. So most people start with a chain, and then from there, some people use a sled, some people use window weights. I use a tire. So I have a 15-pound trailer tire that I use, and I use it on all dogs. I have bigger tires too, but that's when I was pulling American Bulldogs. I don't pull American Bulldogs no more, so I don't need that big ass tire because it's heavy. I don't want to
Yeah.
carry it. But so I use a 15-pound trailer tire. I know Jonathan used window weights and chains. Eli used I mean, he got a hybrid system.
He's a semi tire. He gets the shit off his semi and he puts that motherfucker
No.
on the thing and he.
Here's a question for both of you guys, which everybody this
Come on.
goes on the message boards a lot of the time, and you kind of touched on it a
All
bit,
right.
which was when to start your puppy, right? Like, or when to start your dog.
Okay.
So you were saying you start and to clarify, when you say start, what exactly does that mean? Because that's a big debate on the message boards, and that's one of the reasons that we're doing these shows, these podcasts, is to dispel all the myth that's out there from people that that actually are involved in the sport and have real life experience. What is it when you say you start a puppy?
Well, I'll give you a step by step. So, what I do when I first start with a puppy, so let's say I bring a puppy home, 8 weeks old. The puppy, we say a healthy puppy, so he got all his shots, all his wormer and everything. And most puppies they're a little nervous, but whoever brings that puppy home, that puppy attaches to. It's almost like a duck. So what I normally do is I'll exploit that, and I'll take that same puppy the next day after I get them home, because the first day puppy's gonna sleep. They might not even eat or drink anything. They just gonna sleep. So that next day, I'll take that puppy out and I'll take it to a big field and I'll just start walking. 9 times out of 10, that puppy's gonna follow you.
Yeah.
So that's the very first thing I do. That's step one. I got to get the dog to follow me. Actually, I skipped something. I put a collar on the dog the second that I get it. All right. Once I get that puppy to start following me, then I take and the next step is I put a leash on that collar, and that puppy when he's following me, he follows me with a leash. Third step, I put a harness on that dog. I get him to follow me with the leash, drag it behind him, and the harness. And then fourth step, I bring in the lightest chain I can find, something just to make noise. And after that, now, I mean, we've been doing this for 3 or 4 weeks now, with just me getting him imprinted on what I'm asking him to do. Now I come in and I might put a 1.25 pound weight. I found the lightest weights that I could find was 1.25 pounds. And actually, you can either make weights like lead weights out for fishing, or you could just buy the 1.25 pounds like I get. And what I do is I weld a O-ring onto these. And the next podcast, I'm gonna have I'm gonna show you some of my weights I use for puppies. But yeah, I weld an O-ring onto it, and then we go 1.25 pounds, 2.5, 3 3/4, 5, 6 3/4, 7.5. And we just keep going up like that. And I find that if the slower I go, the more the puppy understands. Okay, this is what we do. And he doesn't really notice I'm adding weight every week on him because I'm only doing 1.25 pounds. So that's how I get started until we get to now my 15-pound tire. So I'm a couple of months before we get into a 15-pound tire.
That's what I was going to ask you. So explain the
Yeah.
gap there. Is
Yes.
significant. This isn't happening in 2
Yes.
days. This isn't happening in a week or so. He's compiling all this and saying this is point A and point fucking C, but between there's weeks of building up to that with a puppy. If you have an older dog, it's a different story, and I'll get into that.
Actually, you want to hear something, E? So it's good you said that. I'm gonna say one thing, and then I'm gonna get on what he said about an older dog. In layman's terms, I start these dogs in pre-K. They go pre-K, kindergarten. I don't care how good or how smart this dog is. We don't go from kindergarten to 5th grade or fifth grade to high school. We go pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. Everything is step by step. If you miss one of these steps, sometimes it make it harder to have a great dog in the end. Just like your kids, we don't let our kids skip. I don't care how smart my son is, my daughter is. I'm not letting my kids skip a grade. I want them to go through
Yeah.
school because sometimes even though your kid's smart enough for, let's say, third grade, he's smart enough for fourth grade mentally. Maturity, they're not ready for the grade. So I'd rather my kids go through each class. You know what I mean? So you can't skip. Now, you said something about an older dog. Okay. Now, with an older dog, he's stronger. So I might not do a pound and a quarter. I might do 2.5 pounds on an older dog. And that first week, that 2.5 pounds gonna be flopping all around. Second week, we got 5. Third week, we got 8. Then 7.5, 8. Now, once we get to 10, now the dog's like, oh damn, there's something back here. But by the time I get to 10, he's so used to that 2.5, that 5, that 7 flopping behind him. He don't care about 10, but he feels something back there. Now we gonna go. Now once I get this dog to a point where he understands that, okay, I'm pulling. And if you know anything about dog training, 21 days form a habit. Well, I took it even further than that. I do 30 days form a habit. So that's 4 weeks. 4 weeks in a month. I do a whole month of whatever I'm doing. That's when the habit is formed, right? So now, once I get to that 10, 15 area, I might start going up 5 pounds a week. After that, once I know this dog understands what I'm asking for. He knows I want him to pull. He knows I want him to pull with me. He knows I want him to pull straight. By this time I might go 5 pounds. Now we getting up to some weight. You know what I mean? So, all right, go ahead,
Yeah,
John,
go,
whichever one
John.
you guys want to elaborate.
So for
Yeah.
me, like how these guys know, I'm a little bit in between these two guys, right? So for me, it's more like I don't start training until about 3 to 4 months, right? I start like someone like Emmanuel with a leash and a collar. I walk down my drag strip back and forth, do it for a couple of days. Evaluate the dog. Maybe it only take a couple days, a week or a couple days to be able to, put a harness on for imprinting. And I kind of start building, just I guess days. I wouldn't say a full routine because it's just, I'm just seeing how the dog does. And I'll start with a harness, just like how the puppies I'm doing right now. I'll start with a harness. I'll find a chain, a small chain, not something big, and kind of, just rep back and forth, and then graduate from there depending on how they do, right? Of course, as time goes by, um, this is just something like repetitive stuff, imprinting. It's not what I would consider training in that aspect, right? It's just to me, just you know, baby steps. We're learning basically this is a stage, right? Until eventually months down the road for me, we'll start incorporating a routine where eventually we fall into a routine where I feel like they're capable of handling pressure more often instead of just having a session. And then that's when I would maybe start saying, yeah, we did a little drag today, you know what I'm saying? But that's still months ahead of time. Just like I'd like to say something to end that, you're gonna hear us kind of go about how to train a dog. But remember, it took me a little bit of time to gain my rhythm, and not all dogs are the same. So not all my dogs are starting off the same. But Emmanuel obviously has and I say this all the time for those that are listening, for those that are new, to inspire to be, like for example, like Emmanuel or Eli, you know what I'm saying? These guys have a program. Like Emmanuel has a program that he knows how to start a dog, on the right foot, how and what to look for. That's why he has such good success with some of these pups. They're ready to go when they're old enough to be able to pull. He just has a program, and it works for him because of his knowledge and his experience. And that's something that I always like to say, and I always try to bring up because y'all got to be careful in some of the things that you guys hear, just because you guys got to understand body language and body movement and just an
Yeah.
overall
That's right.
kind of how your dog works and what to look out for. So I like to end it there. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
So I'm gonna drop one jewel that I dropped on Jonathan early in the game.
Don't tell him.
If your dog's out there pulling, if your dog's pulling, and he might not want me to tell you this, but if your dog's out there pulling, and let's say you go out there, and some days you're gonna have the grass might be wet, it's gonna be dry. Dry grass pulls hard, right? If the grass is pulling hard like that, you put baby oil on a chain and it'll slide right through the chain. you put that P Diddy that P Diddy baby oil on there, and it got to be the P Diddy brand, because if it ain't, it don't slide as good. P Diddy baby oil make that chain slide. Jonathan, he's smiling because that's what he do. Go ahead and tell him. All right, E, what you got? I know E gonna drop some jewels on you, because this Joker got. I mean, he's definitely passionate about this subject. Definitely passionate.
Anybody who's talked to me knows I am passionate about that subject, because I do things a little bit differently. It's not necessarily that much different, but I like to wait till the dog's a little older. And I don't mind starting a younger dog, but for me, it has to be that type of puppy. Like, it has to be that pup that needs that extra work, that's looking for an outlet. And I'm like, okay, all right, maybe I'll put you in a harness. But I generally don't like to start pups. And it also might be just my training style as well. And that could be part of it, is if I'm being, if I'm evaluating myself, one of the reasons why. But I think some of the issues is, and I don't know if I'm going to call it an issue, but when you look at when you look at the dogs that are primarily winning, it's usually the American Pit Bull Terrier. Like, that's usually the dog.
Yeah.
Right. And at this point, we're so far into the sport that years into it now, people are finally starting connecting the dots, and they're breeding winners to winners. They're looking for style. They're looking for dogs with strong heads. And when I say strong head, a dog that can handle pressure. And I'm sure we'll get into that later on down the road. We're looking for dogs that can handle pressure, and that's being bred into the dogs, right? And seeing out more and more time and time again. I think, so with that being said, I think now you can see younger dogs being started sooner, because they're coming off of these lines of dogs that are being specifically bred for this, right? When you're looking at, and I'll use my own breed as an example, Zero, there's no history behind them for the sport. It's going to take a little longer to figure out what's what, right?
Yeah.
And what certain people need to realize, when people say that they're starting young dogs, a lot of the time, these are trainers that have been doing this for a long fucking time, right? So they understand body language. They know what they're looking at. They're looking at stress levels in the dog. If you're new into the sport, you have to be told what to look for. You need a mentor that's telling, hey, look for this. Look, no, that's stress. That's not the dog being happy, or this or that. Look, that's too much. Lean off of the dog now. That you put a little too much, too fast. And these guys, Emmanuel, the Haasfelds and stuff like that, they've been doing this for a long, long time. So they understand what they're looking for. If you're new coming into the sport and you go, man, I got an 8-week-old puppy, I'm going to do what they're doing, you're probably going to fail at it. Unless you have somebody there guiding you every day in and out in the field, and you got to understand, when these guys say we're training puppies, a lot of it is just conditioning. It's not necessarily what people consider training, right? It's conditioning. They got a harness on. They're walking. They're just getting used to just walking with you and just doing normal stuff. For me, I like to spend a lot of time, I like to do my obedience with the dogs. I like to spend a lot of time bonding with them. So I tend to, that puppy period, I'm doing that with them, unless it's that type of dog. And then also, I think the size of the dog comes into play as well. You have a lot of these dogs that are the dog of choice right now in the sport is, again, a specific line of American Pit Bull Terrier that are ranging anywhere between, 8 pounds all the way up to like 60, 65. You get some of them, that are hitting the 70-pound marks. But those dogs, like a 40-pound American Pit Bull Terrier, is going to develop at a different rate per se than a dog that's going to be 160 pounds.
Right. So like you said, it can get to 70. That's the extreme.
Yes.
That's the extreme for this particular line. And then again, I have one that's 23 pounds conditioned. That's the other end of the spectrum. So Mouse, I got a little dog named Mouse. She's on one end of the spectrum. there's a guy named David Gutierrez that got a dog named Aegon. He's the other end of that spectrum. Or we got Fresh, other end of that spectrum. He's what they back in the day were called a catchweight dog. These are catchweight dogs. That's on the high end of the spectrum, and then you got dogs like Mouse that's on the low end of the spectrum, or
So yeah, so when
definitely.
you look at those dogs like that, when you look at, like, I'm just gonna say, like, I don't know, a 15-week-old American Pit Bull Terrier that's gonna probably be around 40 pounds, or any other breed per se that's gonna be right about 40 pounds. At that
Yeah.
age, they already have their feet underneath them. They're bouncing. They're moving well. You see a lot of these Pit Bulls.
Yeah. You can flirt
Yeah,
pole
you
them.
can flirt pole them. They got spring. They got little springs underneath their step when they're walking. They're bouncing around. They look like miniature adult versions of themselves, right?
Yeah.
So when you take, like, and I'll just use my breed for example. At that age, man, they're flopping all over the place. They can barely. They're not
Yeah.
underneath themselves the
Yeah.
right way. Emmanuel can testify. You've been to my house. You've seen the dog.
Dude, those dogs were 8 weeks old. Those about 30, 35 pounds. Now, these are 8-week-old puppies. It doesn't change the fact, even though they're big, it doesn't change the fact that they still got weak pasterns. They still got weaker ligaments. These 35 pounds. I mean, this is bone and everything. So these little puppies not only have to carry, let's just say, if you were trying to put weight on them and drag them, they not only have to carry the weight that you drag, and they got to carry their body. They weren't really even walking good. Like, so these 8-week-old puppies were still moving
Like puppies.
so let's say if we were comparing them to pit bulls, they were moving like 5 to 6-week-old pit bulls, and they were 8 weeks. Where an 8-week-old pit bull, I can flirt pole an 8-week-old pit bull, and they getting it. These puppies were so big and just a slower growing dog that they weren't moving like that.
No.
So when he say there's certain breed of dogs that you have to wait for, I can tell you right now. The way, and this is just me. If I had to deal with one of the Boerboels, which please don't ever let me have to deal with one of them big dogs, man. It's too much food. It's too much space. But if I had to deal with one of the Boerboels, literally, I probably would take it out just starting, probably 2 or 3 minutes in the morning, 2 or 3 minutes in the evening, and it's just walking for 2 or 3 minutes and put up. That's it. You can't overdo it with these dogs, especially those big mastiffs, these mastiffy type dogs. You can't overdo it.
They're going to be weakened. They're good. The ligaments in their pastures, in their toes, all that is grows and strengthens at a different rate than a dog that's going to mature at 40 pounds. It's going to be at a different rate, and you got to remember, which one of the biggest lies that I see on these boards, and right away you get labeled as like a fur mom, is when somebody goes on there and goes, well, what about growth plates? And everybody attacks the person that says that. It's a good question. It's a really good question of growth plates for a large breed. There's science behind people that shows that giant breed dogs, their growth plates close at a different rate. That's not my personal opinion. There's fucking science behind that. And you're not a fur mom if you ask about those questions. Those are generally real questions, and that's a real thing. You have to keep that in.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. You got growth plates, and growing pains to me is almost one and the same. But I haven't seen one big dog, American Bulldogs, French Masters, African Boerboels, Prussia Canaries. They all go through weird growing pains. They go through a lanky stage. I had American Bulldogs that you look at them one day, you like, man, that joker stout. You look at him the next day, he's skinny and limping. Yeah. And you're like, what happened? What happened from last night to this morning? Nothing.
And it's a normal thing for these giant breeds to go through that, where you almost never see that with like the American Pit Bull Terrier, unless you that are going to be giants, right? Unless you got some that are going to be 90 pounds and they look like giraffes, then you tend, and like my original line, I had those big, giant, leggy, American Pit Bull Terriers that did go through those things. I had to experience that. 1 minute they're fine, the next minute you're limping, you're going to the vet, you're taking x-rays, and they're just like, it's just growing pains. The dog is growing so fast. You got to try and slow down the growth a little bit because he's growing so fast. Okay, and you had to learn that stuff. So you got to keep that in mind. Look at the type of dog that you have. Look at what it's probably going to grow at and adjust your training to that. Just because you see some people doing it with the pups, just because you can doesn't always mean you should. And that's, you need to look at yourself, reflect at the training level that you have, and
Yeah.
whether or not you have a mentor with you, and then decide from there. It's not always a bad thing to start them young. It's not always a good thing. You gotta understand that, and kind of evaluate yourself and be honest with yourself about the level of training that you're at, and whether or not you
Yeah.
should do that. And don't let
Yeah.
anybody ever tell you that, oh, if you wait, you're not going to be competitive. I've dispelled myth
Yeah.
many a times with many dogs that have been hard to beat. The people that know, we had a dog named Little Kim that won multiple nationals in different organizations for many years. It was a hard dog to beat, and that dog, she didn't start pulling till she was 7 months old. You know,
Well, right now, I'm going for a record of a guy that can bring a 9-month-old puppy to nationals and just kick ass. So I'm going for a Guinness World Record right now. So, don't be like
no,
me.
no, don't be like, you know, we've had other dogs that started rough. I mean, look at the dog we're pulling now, Sun. He needs to be refined. Some will call, he needs to be refined. He needs show experience. He needs to be there. But we took him out with 3 months of training at what, 17 months old, 18 months old, and went out, competed at nationals, and did well. Now he needs show experience. Now he needs miles underneath him at different shows and stuff like that. And there's no other way to get that except to go to shows, win, lose, or
Yeah.
the only way to get that experience is to get out there and do that. But don't let people say that, hey, if you don't start them at a certain age, you're done. It's not true. You can take your time, you can work it. But if you are going to start them young, make sure you got somebody helping you there. And the most important thing is to fucking listen. Listen to what these people are telling you, because it's so easy to mentally destroy a puppy. It's so easy to mentally
Yeah.
destroy a puppy.
Yeah.
And then another thing, I see this a lot, man, and I normally ask this question to when I see it. I'll see a person learning from somebody that,
They shouldn't.
getting their ass whooped. And I'll ask, and I'll just pose a question. I'll be like, man, and they'll say, well, man, what should I be doing? And I'll say, hey, find somebody that's pulling dogs like you want to be pulling dogs and learn from them. If the person that you're learning from isn't pulling dogs like you want to be pulling dogs, you with the wrong mentor. Because what happens is you're going to end up pulling dogs like them, because they only know how to pull dogs like they know how to pull dogs. So if you see a person, you find somebody and say, man, god damn, that every time I see them, their dogs never quit. They never do this. They always give them 110%. That's where you want to learn from, not the guy that you going out and and not to say anything is wrong with this. Some people enjoy, like I say, it's not, I hear this a lot, pulling is fun for me. Pulling is, I enjoy pulling to the end. But guess what? I enjoy when my dog goes out there and give me 1,000%. I enjoy when I get up there and I get that $5 trophy that says first place on it. I enjoy that too. When I get the $5 trophy that say third place and I got my ass whooped, Jonathan beat me, or Brian Hartsfield kicks my ass, guess what? I still smile, but in my head I'm like, God damn, I had a good time with these jokers, but I gotta figure out what to do, But you definitely gotta find the person that's pulling like you wanna pull. Like if I wanna play basketball, I'm not gonna go. And I know might get some slack off this, but I ain't going to LeBron James. I'm going to Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? I'm going to Michael Jordan to learn basketball. I'm not going to LeBron James. So you want to go to the Michael Jordans of what you trying to do, the best. You know what I mean? If I'm running track, I don't know the track star. I'm going Usain Bolt. You know what I mean? If I'm going football, I'm going to. Yeah, guess what? I'm going to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm getting Patrick Mahomes to show me how to play football. That's what I want to learn from. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna go to the guy that's on the practice squad. I'm going to the top guys. So you got to think about that. And when you approach these people, approach them humble. Approach them like you don't know everything. Because if you walk to me and you telling me like you know everything, I don't got nothing to tell you. You know the whole thing. You know everything. It's nothing that I can impart into you because you know everything. If you come to me, come humble. And even to this day, shit, Eli knows stuff I don't know. And when he give it to me, I ask. I don't say, yeah, man, I do this. No, I let him give me what he know, and I don't question
Same here.
what he's telling me. You know what I mean? I take it. I take it in and I say, well, damn, okay, cool. And I think about it and I research it because I never been a guy that just let somebody tell
100%.
me, if you say the sky blue, I'm gonna look at him and say, man, that look green. Let me go research this. I never been that guy that just take what you tell me. I'm gonna research it and make sure. Because guess what? There's some people out here that will give you the wrong information. So definitely want to go to somebody that's doing where you strive to be. And I strive for perfection, so I want to be like the best of the best. You know what I mean? So that's what if you want to do this, you should strive for perfection.
Don't come to me because I ain't
Yep.
no expert. I'm letting you know right now. I ain't no expert. You know what I'm
No,
saying? Do not
I
come to
heard
me.
you the expert first.
Do not
I
come
heard
to me.
you
You know.
the Turtle Man. Live action.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
All right, so I was gonna say this, so we can keep going. We're getting to
about an hour.
about an hour
How
now.
about we touch a little bit on the equipment, and then maybe we'll call it a wrap, and then take it.
So when you say equipment, what do you mean? You talking about drag sleds and stuff like that, or are you talking about wheels,
Oh, the
rails?
harness. Let's talk about the harnesses and stuff like that. Of what you're looking for in a harness to fit your dog. Like we already know. I think most people understand that a harness is a harness. It's good. But you want a proper fitting harness. You want to find a harness maker because that's one of the first steps you have to do, right? When you got to find a
Hmm.
harness. You got to find a harness. You got to find a harness maker.
Yeah,
You want to look for a maker that's gonna work with you, that's gonna answer your questions, that's gonna help you take your measurements, because that's a big thing. Most people
yeah,
getting into this don't know how to take their measurements, so you got to find a harness maker that's gonna be
yeah,
patient with you
And
and
the
oh,
person has to be patient with a harness maker as well. That's the
yeah,
biggest thing too.
yes,
yeah, that's a big
yeah,
thing.
yeah. No, 100%.
Understand that these people have regular jobs. You know what I'm saying? They're doing this on the
Hmm.
side. It's a lot of work, and you gotta have to. It works both ways, right? You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
and there's a lot of folklore out there about what harnesses can and can't do. At the end of the day, a well-fitting harness is a well-fitting harness. You know,
fitting harness. Yes,
it doesn't matter where you got it from, as long as it fits the dog well. Um,
yes,
and you
Except
gotta understand.
eBay. Except eBay.
Except eBay, yeah. Except
yeah,
and just remember, one of the biggest myths is that harness is going to change style. And when we say style, for people that don't know what that is a lot of the times, there's a dog that has a lot of bend in the elbow, and you'll see them they're creeping low to the ground. They're getting a full stretch and moving forward. Some of the folklore out there is that, depending on what harness you have, that's going to change the style, and it's going to go from a dog that's pulling straight up like this, and it's going to cause him to creep and pull. It's not. It's not. There's no harness that's going to do that to your dog. Style is a genetic trait. Period.
Yeah.
yes. So you know what? Style. I do believe that style is genetic trait. You also can take, I believe this, you could take a dog that comes off of two great pulling dogs, great style, and you can screw style up by rushing and putting
Yeah.
too much weight.
Yeah.
Because what'll happen is now you got a
It's
dog
panicky.
Just
that
frantic.
you putting so much weight on him, and now he's
It's all over
Franticking.
the place.
Yeah.
It kind of and the person is constantly correcting the dog and making it more fucking
yes.
panicky. Well, it's coming.
So now the dog is doing anything it can to get to you instead of focusing. It's just like when you lifting weights, you want to have proper technique. You want to go up slow, down, down slow, up fast. That you want to have proper technique. And if
I lost
the
you
same
guys.
thing, if you're rushing these dogs, you're gonna mess up form.
Yeah.
Style, same form and style is the same thing. You're gonna mess that up. So again, take your time. What he was saying about the harness makers, you want to make sure that you and there's nothing wrong. I only deal with one harness maker. I only deal with one, but it's nothing wrong with trying several different harnesses. If your harness maker has an issue with you trying somebody else's harness, they're not the harness
Harness
maker
maker.
for you. Again, you want to be able to guess what? Again, you shouldn't be able to. You can't just tell me this is the best harness. Why?
Yeah.
If you go here, you should experience different things, and like, again, I only deal with one harness maker. That's it. All my harnesses that I have at my house currently is from one harness maker, and if you want that harness maker, all you got to do is DM me, Funny Man Kennel, or come to the K9 Labs, where we have a group right now called the K9 Labs, and it's for weight pullers, and it's for these same kind of conversations. You can access to bring up topics on our podcast. From here on out, all my Funny Man lives, which I go to a lot of shows during the year. If you want to see these shows, you're gonna have to join K9 Lab, because they will be exclusively on K9 Labs group from here on out. I'm not even putting them on my page. Only thing that will be on my page is the link to K9 Labs. So if you want to see these Funny Man Kennel lives, and you want to learn who my harness maker is, we'll have several harness makers on there, but if you want to know who my harness maker is, hit the K9 Labs group, and we can go from there.
That's one of the things we're going to do on this podcast. We're going to bring in, other trainers. We're going to bring in, harness makers, and we're going to have other people also from different breeds and different training aspects. We're bringing people doing protection work, dock diving and stuff like that, because it's all about, the dogs in general and dog sports. Obviously our forte right now is weight pulling, right? So we're going to heavily talk about a lot of that, and we're going to hopefully try to dispel a lot of the myths that are involved in the sport, and just kind of take it from there. But we're going to have all that stuff on there, and kind of dive deep into that. And one of the things on the K9 Lab is go on there and leave comments and stuff about what you want us to talk about. And as we keep going and doing more of these podcasts, we'll bring up those questions and dive deep into those comments.
Yeah, and please feel free to get on there and ask questions. There's no dumb question unless Jonathan Trejo's asking it. There's nothing dumb you can say dumb on the K9 Lab unless this guy right here, Jonathan Trejo, is asking it. But anybody else can come in there and ask anything. I don't care if you come in there and say, hey, does brown dogs pull better than black ones? Guess what? Let's start the debate. Does this harness work better than this harness? Guess what? I just told you. I'm loyal to one harness maker, so I'm gonna tell you, if you ask me on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or next year, it's gonna be that same harness maker. So, let's debate it. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna have some serious conversations. We're gonna have some light conversations. I mean, this is what weight pulling's about. Nobody is dumb. You can put whatever you want on this board. And we can talk about it.
Remember, guys, this is gonna be more for like information kind of thing. Talking about like weight pull and harness, just to go about a little bit back. Remember, guys, talk about when you have like a harness and you get your harness maker make your harness. Remember, contact your harness. Do not contact the group. Send them videos.
Yeah.
Send them videos of a little bit of pressure on the dog with the harness. Put it a little bit, so that you can see fitment on.
So what he's trying to say, if the harness, let's say you order a harness, you send the harness maker, you say, hey, my next 21 from the wither to the chest bone, and you get it, the harness 21, but your dog actually needs a 17. Your dog was moving when you did. Don't get on the board and say, oh man, these guys fucked my harness up. No, call your harness maker, show them what you say. Say, hey, my harness is too big. I sent you the wrong measurements. What can we do? A good harness maker gonna say, send that harness back. I'm gonna send you a new one out, and that's or guess what? You know what I've done in the past? I have probably 20, 25 harnesses on the wall. Guess why? If I sent in the wrong measurement, I say I'm keeping this harness because I'm going to have a dog this big one day. So I'm gonna keep this. Give me a harness 2 inches smaller, and I'll we work it out from there. That's how you do it. That's how you keep a good rapport with a person, not just a harness maker, because they're people, So if they make a mistake or you make a mistake, don't blast them. Give them a chance.
The only bashing that should be done. The only bashing that should be done is when somebody gets percentage this year. That's the only bashing I want to hear.
You got to remember, so you go on these message boards and you go, hey guys, I got this harness from so and so, whatever. What do you think this harness looks like on my dog? No, contact your maker and ask those questions, because you go on a message board, you're gonna get 50 different answers from 49 different people. That's what you're gonna get, and it's like talking to a schizophrenic person with multiple personality disorder. You're gonna get so many different nonsense. Talk to your harness maker. Sit there, have conversation, bring up your concerns, bring up your like, your dislike, and try to work it out that way before you go on these boards and start ranting and raving, because half the time you're getting information from people that just got into the sport.
Yeah.
You're not even getting real information, so they don't even know what they're talking about.
Correct.
I do want to say this. As much as I'm enjoying these podcasts, man, I can sit and do this shit for 3 years straight. I got about 3-4 puppies that I'm training right now to whip Jonathan Trejo and Brian Horsfield's ass this year. So I need to get out and train these dogs before it start raining or I get tired. So I'm gonna get over here in a second because I got some dogs. I call these dogs little ass whoopers. I got some little ass whoopers to train.
You know, to touch up on something real quick that I in my head. You know, when you're talking about puppies like this, you know, one of the most important things to do is, you know, when you say take your time, is I have to use Fresh as an example. You know, when Fresh first came out, and people that don't know who Fresh is, you know, he's like the foundation of a lot of people's, you know, weight pulling lines right now.
Shit, Machine Gun Kelly, my main bitch my main bitch of my kennel, Machine Gun Kelly, is her father.
He's the foundation dog for a lot of dogs right now that are doing well. They have Fresh somewhere in the pedigree, sometimes multiple times in the pedigree.
Right here.
You know, but when you look at Fresh's, you know, beginning when he first came out, he didn't do all that. You know, Fresh was okay when he first came out, and guess what happened? They took their time
with maturity. Guess what happened with maturity?
So just because, you know, you have a pup and it's not doing well, but it's got good stuff, take your time. And I have to use Fresh as an example. It's not I'm not knocking the dog in any way, shape, form, or fashion. He's just a prime example of look what happens when you let a dog mature a little bit. You know, he matured, and then next thing you know, he turned into the dog that he is now. He's the foundation dog for a lot of the weight pull dogs, a lot of the weight pull American Pit Bull Terriers that are out there right now. But when he first,
a lot of national champion winners.
Please don't be like Funny Man Kennel. You come out with these young puppies win, and then come out the next year when they win, and come out the next. Look, don't be like Funny Man. You want to be like these guys. Funny Man is a fool. Don't be like him. Be like Cold River or Working Bulls. You don't want to be like Funny Man, cause cause guess what? I laugh just as much, man. So don't be like me. Be like those guys.
we got more stuff coming down the pipeline. We're gonna go down next into, you know, probably we'll start talking about our setups and how, you know, what our pulling systems look like. And I say pulling systems, the chains and the weights and stuff like that. You know, what we're looking for in a puppy, on how they're moving, and whether it's slow or fast, whether we're using spot lines or not using spot lines. You know, that's always a big thing. When to take the leash.
For this particular subject, I think we should bring in a guest, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I think we should bring in old Brian Horsfield on this one, because he definitely, you know, he definitely has a way of training dogs, and we train differently. I train differently than E. I train differently than John, but at a year and a half old, 2 years old, all those dogs do the exact same thing. So I think we should bring him in, man, because he definitely have a different way of training, and different equipment that he uses, because he uses different equipment than all of us.
Yeah, he does.
For sure. Yeah.
You know, so definitely I think that'll be a good one to have our first guest on. You know, and we might not have a guest every week for everybody. It's just gonna be us, but I think on certain ones, I think we should have a guest, man. Loosen it up and bring it, you know, bring it in the right way.
If you guys think you got hold value, have, you know, some sort of, you know, general knowledge for something that could benefit us, you know, feel free to message one of us and be like, hey, I think I could bring something, or there's a topic, you know, I'm well informed in that we can talk about. You know, we'll contact you and see, you know, I guess you're, you know, just what it is that you're talking about, and kind of go, because the last thing we want is to put misleading information out there. So and
nutrition. We'll get into nutrition as well, because that's a big thing.
That's a big thing.
Nutrition is
now
that's one of the things we're going to get into.
100%
as well. Supplements, you know, supplement nutrition is one of the big things.
100%. Yeah, we got to get into that as well, and we'll touch up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. There's a lot of misleading information out there. And if your dog's in my class, I'm gonna mislead your ass.
Yeah.
You know, so I can win. But you know, I'm just letting you know, there's a lot of misleading stuff out there. And if you want to win, don't listen to me.
Yeah.
No, you know the crazy thing about it. I have, and this have happened to me several times. You know, I have somebody that I'm mentoring, and I'm giving them the whole game. It's no, and it's really no secret to this. But I'm telling them step by step how to go, and they listen. And do you know these fucking guys come and beat me, and they beat me, and I'm proud. It's almost like being at your job and you train somebody up, not to take your job, but to get on the same level as you. You know what I mean? So as you go up, you see these people go up with you. That's how it's supposed to be, man. That's how this sport is going to survive. I don't mind being beat, man. That's the thing. I don't mind getting my butt whipped at a weight pull. I really don't care. You know, it's a good thing because guess what? That means evolution is happening. That means that things are changing. That means people are learning. So guess what? When you guys evolve, guess what? I'm going to take my ass home and evolve too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So definitely, man, it's good. And like I said, anybody that's on this group that we have, and hopefully, you know, this K9 Labs group, going to be good guys, man. And they're going to tell you, again, check their resume, make sure that they're doing what you want them to do, and then go to them. You know, kind of do your research first. Don't just jump, hey, how you doing, man? My name's John Jacob Jenkins, you know, and I want to do, you know, check their resume. Go to their webpage. Talk to them. Check the message boards. Check stats on at nationals. Check this, check that. See what they're about, you know, and then step to them and ask them, hey, man, you know, I live close to you. I live 3 or 4 hours. That's another thing. Find somebody that's close.
If you can, that's hard. That's hard. You know, at least get on the phone with them, get their brains, you know, FaceTime them, do stuff like that, you know, that because it's hard. That part is hard. And people got to realize when you're trying to help somebody, there's nothing more flattering than the person that you've helped watch them go out and win and win big. Like, you know, I like when people, I've helped someone and they go out and they perform and they fucking do fantastic. It's actually disappointing when they go out and they don't do well because it's like you didn't listen. You know, you didn't listen or you didn't put the time in you had to put in. So there's guys that people that generally want to help. And it's the only way to keep the sport going. It's the only way, or else we're going to lose the sport. It's just going to go down fucking hill, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%.
It's the only way. So that's one of the reasons we're doing this is to help keep the sport alive. Correct. Inspire some people.
Please, don't let Jonathan Trejo keep winning. Come on out here and kick his ass.
The thing you gotta know about us is that us three truly enjoy competition. Like, we're not somebody that's gonna give you false information. If you come with us and truly want to learn, we're gonna give you what it is that you're looking for, right? Because we truly want somebody. I love it when somebody says, "Hey, I'm gonna get your ass at no Diddy at nationals." You know, I got some for you. You know, I truly like that.
Look,
you know,
I'm gonna tell you how much I like it. Jonathan, he came to me. He said, "Man, I don't know how you winning so much." And I said, "Look, I just got good dogs." He said, "Man, I wish I gave him a puppy out of my litter, my last litter, just so he can goddamn come and I can whip his ass again." All right, guys. Shoot, let's wrap this up, man. Because again, like I said, I got puppies to train. Now Eli got another 6 months before he trained puppies. John got another 2 months, but I got puppies to train to get ready for these doggone shows that's coming up. Actually, these puppies, you'll see them coming out February, whatever the first show in February is, which is probably not set at 10. It'll be a UPS show. But I do know February I'll be probably going to Clay's show down in Texas. He has a show every February. Good weather, good people. It's going to be a show confirmation and everything. So I'll probably go down there. And I think that's the Bulldogs of Houston. Or Top Dogs of Houston. Top Dogs of Houston. So that'll be my first show. And you guys get to see it's like 3 or 4 puppies coming out. You know, I'll have a couple in the show ring. Guess what? I'm even popping out in the Top Dog in February. So if you guys want to see some good stuff, come on out. But February 26th, that's when you'll see these puppies that I'm bringing out and see if this training stuff I do work, man. We don't know. We don't know yet.
All right, guys. Lab out.
all right.
All right.